There are many agencies out there that brag about 30 plus month retention rates, but that's actually exactly what's keeping them stuck. So the way you usually get here, so first of all, retention rate is largely a function of your industry and the service that you're selling. It's not a function of what you're doing. It's also a function of your fee structure, a lower fee structure, and of high founder involvement, right? So the way they achieve this retention rate, this is usually, let's say, D2C e-commerce type agencies. They can usually achieve this, but they do it with high founder involvement in client work and with no reliable way to get new business. So usually they have few clients, they keep the clients for very long. That's the business model. However, the goal of an agency is never to retain clients. Contrary to what these people say, it's not. It's to maximize profits, and you don't always maximize profits by retaining clients. And I'll prove to you why. So, profit is always the difference between the fees that you charge as an agency and your cost, right? We can actually take a moment to look at an example, right? So, looking down here, which one would you rather be? Would you rather be agency A with an average retention rate of just 6 months and you charge 17K per month and you get 10 new clients per year? Or would you rather be agency B with an average retention rate of 3 years? You have 400K in lifetime value, you charge 11K per month, and you get 2 new clients a year. Which one would you rather be? And the most people would somehow be attracted towards this because we've all been taught wrong notions about what it means to succeed as an agency. But if we do the math, right? If we do the math, and I'll just remove these so that you can see the math. If we do the math, you will see that agency A, in terms of the lifetime value that it brings in 3 years, it brings in 3 million. And agency B, in terms of the lifetime value it brings in the same time frame, it brings in 2.4 million in lifetime value. So agency A is actually better. Everybody should prefer to own agency A, where you have a strong client acquisition system, your retention is not sky high, and you're charging higher fees. Why? Because your profit, again, is the difference between fees and costs. Higher fees enable you to turn a bigger profit. So how do you charge higher fees? Well, you invest in your authority. Your authority as an agency enables you to charge higher fees, and you increase your value, which means that you deliver bigger results for clients. The combination of high authority and increased value is what enables you to grow your fees over time. And at the same time, you have to decrease costs. And costs are just a function of leverage. Most people don't think about this, but they're only a function of leverage. So what do I mean by leverage? Let's say that this is your initial agency. You're the partner. There's only one founder. You have a project manager under you and you have some labor, right? So whatever that looks like, right? Let's say that you produce in that format 500K per year and you spend 300K. And the profit is 200K, which you take as the single partner. Now, many people, to grow the agency, what they will do is they'll be like, well, I'm fully stuck in this client work. The only way to grow is to bring in another partner. Okay, I bring in another partner. He's going to bring in his own business. He's going to build a separate team. He's going to run that team. And guess what? By the end of it, they're going to also produce 500K while spending 300K, and they're also going to get 200K in profit. Okay, so now you've grown the agency. The agency produces 1 million in a year, no longer 500K, and it spends 600K, and the profit is the same. Okay, why is it the same? Because your underlying leverage remains the same, which means that you still have one partner who manages the same kind of team, who yields the same sort of productivity. So what I mean by increasing leverage is the spend that you need to have to produce a greater amount of money, right? So the ideal structure here is a partner that's not involved at all in delivery, right? The delivery is handled by an internal team. The internal team produces, and the partner maximizes his time by spending it on growing fees in terms of authority, marketing, and sales, but also in terms of increasing the value rendered, building case studies, things of that nature. While the actual work is handled by a separate team, because that way you maximize the leverage. And instead of bringing another partner, you just expand, you add another one of these teams that's self-managing, that doesn't need a partner to manage it, and they can handle more volume of clients, right? That's the ideal way of growing. And if you're actually wanting to maximize profits, that's exactly what you should do. So you should not be so concerned about, how long are we retaining for. That's not the criteria. That you don't want to retain forever. If you retain forever, that means usually that your price is too low. That's why people stay there. And sometimes, some agencies get into the point where they're sort of stuck at the same value that they deliver. They can't raise their fees, and then on the other side, their leverage stays consistent. They've lowered their cost as much as they can. Those agencies never grow. The only way they grow is by adding new partners. And as you saw, that doesn't change the leverage structure. It doesn't change the cost structure. Therefore, the profit per partner remains the same. Okay, that's not a good agency. That's not an agency that fulfills its goal of maximizing profits. So usually you have to sacrifice some retention for charging a higher fee, okay, and justifying a higher fee. And you also have to sacrifice some retention in terms of the clients getting less attention from the founder of the agency. Okay, so that's exactly how you solve this. You prioritize higher fees over retention. You increase leverage, so that means lower founder involvement. You build a reliable system to get new business, and you invest in marketing consistently. If you don't invest in marketing, then you're not actually going to grow, get new clients in, and do so predictably. So this is sort of how you become like agency A, right? And agency A is actually the agency that maximizes profits. If you overextend in one direction, right? So if you go for a super high retention rate, then usually the way you achieve that is by sacrificing other things, and usually the trade-off is not worth it. The best way is sort of a balance. Probably a 1 year retention. Like if you could cut your retention here from 3 years to 1 year by doubling your fee, that would be a great thing. And obviously not just that, but by increasing the number of clients you can bring in, that would be worth it. And it would be worth it because it would generate higher profits and it would enable you to scale more as an agency. So those two things, increasing your fees and decreasing your leverage structure, are the most important things that you can do for the health of your agency. And you do that by investing in your own authority, by increasing the value of what you deliver, very importantly, and then by increasing your leverage structure. You increase your leverage structure by focusing more on marketing and sales and less on actually doing work. So I hope that makes sense and that's helpful for you.